thank you enough for allowing me the opportunity to be here this evening. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to the ice cold brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternities, Xi Deadly Delta chapter, for the invitation to speak with you this evening. I'm truly humbled and blessed by this opportunity, and I thank you. This moment comes just after we close the 119th year of Alpha Phi Alpha being founded on December 4th, 1906, on an ice-cold evening, much like this, in Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, when 7 jewels looked upon the world around them and said, now is the time. Time to make a change, time to make a difference. I'm confident that Henry Arthur Callis, Charles Henry Chapman, Eugene Kinkle Jones, George Biddle Kelly, Nathaniel Allison Murray, Robert Harrell Ogle, and Vertner Woodson Tandy on the night that they dined on their first banquet. They actually didn't have any of this food. They had some other items. They dined on their first banquet. They had boiled lamb chops, Neapolitan ice cream, Alpha Phi Alpha punch, and they followed it with a brotherhood smoke afterwards. Had no idea what the legacy that one day would shape over 900 chapters, create civil rights leaders such as Dr. Martin Luther King, musician giants such as Duke Ellington, business leaders like my father, Craig Thomas Welburn, artists such as Omari Hardwick, journalists like Roland Martin, and political leaders such as Senator Raphael Warnock and Governor Wes Moore, and their impact echoes today, and we are proof of this evening. So within Xi Delta chapter, we can never forget the men of Alpha that walked these hallowed grounds here at James Madison University on March the 2nd, 1979, and we actually have someone that is here. So Brian, thank you very much for this legacy that you had used to help create this chapter here. So when we look at Alphonso Taylor, Charles Haley, Mel Watson, Walter Wind Me Up Jackson, Jonathan Page, Melvin J. Brown, Ramon Sutherland, William Tolles, Corey Holman, my brother-in-law. You think that my brother-in-law got a chance to pledge him, that's kind of cool. Warner Roberts, Sakini Welsh, Jacoby Paul, Kofi Asari, Darnell Watson, Chris Stewart, Khalil Turner, and yes, even myself, that have yelled out on this campus, "Hey, 40!" And it was quickly followed by a sharp 06 that echoed the classrooms over on the quad, and Wilson Hall, and yes, even D Hall. Not the D Hall that y'all remember. The real D Hall. The D Hall, the one where we used to bring in Tupperware, where we used to bring in aluminum foil, the one where we would sneak out wingdings. My bad, chicken wings, that's what y'all call that. And get just so we could sneak them off to the dorm. And the men of Xi Delta chapter have challenged this campus and the communities and have stepped into the world, living out the aims of manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. So also today, happy DOC Day. Many of y'all might say happy DOC Day. I have to pause and say happy DOC to, Dave, as you might not know, but I'm sure that your families might know who we are. I'm blessed and humbled that on an ice cold evening like this, 33 years ago, our Dean, Wilson Randolph, who I am so touched that you were here this evening, to think about Wilson Randolph, meeting him in transition, and him seeing these young men and creating us to who we are today. I am truly honored, truly blessed. Thank you. To think that Wilson Randolph and Byron Swanson Bullock, 14 brothers, Morel Elam, Brian Patterson, Joe Lewis, Aaron Burford, Victor Myers, Kenny Spencer, Art Cotton, Rashawn Alston, Keith Smith, Terrence Bethea, my line brother Ben Clay, who I'm so happy that you're here this evening, thank you. Montrese Dobson, David Gidd, and myself crossed the burning sands of Alpha and the line of the Disciples of Chaos. This line would never be duplicated as we crossed 9 first semester freshmen that ran chaos across this campus, throughout Virginia, and some parts of the East Coast, leading the classroom, in student government, in student life, and even in the president's office, as President Ron Carrier was moved and wanted to yell out an 06. So, at 7:17 and 34 seconds, the man standing before you crossed the sands of Alpha, and was charged to live out the aims of manly deeds, scholarship, and love for all mankind. So tonight's theme, rooted in the words of Charles Henry Chapman, we must never lose sight of the fact that we must take part in the development not only of ourselves, but of humanity. It reminds me of one of my favorite Bible verses, which is Matthew 22, 34 through 39, where a lawyer asked Jesus and said, "What is the greatest commandment?" And he replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." And he said also that the second is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So loving your neighbor as you love yourself. The same truths are echoed through across faiths and other cultures, whether it's Buddhism, which says treat others the way that you treat yourself, with fine heartfelt. Hinduism, which says do not do unto others what you would not want to have done to you. Islam, which says none of you truly believes until you wishes your brother what you wishes for yourself. Or whether it's Judaism, which says love your neighbor as you love yourself in Leviticus 19:18. It's a universal truth, spoken differently in many languages, but they're still saying the same thing, to love your neighbor. So loving your neighbor, it sounds simple. Let's be honest, isn't it? You would want the best for yourself like you'd want for them. God made me intricately and intentionally, perfectly in his eyes. But do we love our neighbor the same way? If we did, would there be racial profiling? Will we tell a person that this is my country and it's not yours, and you don't belong here? Will we ignore someone who's hungry on the road instead of feeding them? Will we overlook those that have need of clothing or shelter or the opportunities that we have? Will we refuse to open doors, literally and figuratively, when we have that power to do so? Will we just even do this, miss out on a chance to just say hello to someone? Because you never know the impact that can have. So, what will each of you do? It's my challenge to you. In closing, what are you going to do, Khalil? What are you going to do, Brian? What are you going to do to each of the alphas that are here in this room? And the young ladies in this room, that are the future leaders in this room? What are you going to do? So I asked myself that, Craig, what are you going to do? Will you take up the charge that's handed to you by the jewels, or will you just pass on it and pretend that it never happens? So I had no idea that God would have me in this place today, 33 years ago. But I think about it. See, you can think about yourself and say, I think I know where I'm going to be 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or even 30 years from now. But I'm here to tell you, you'll have no idea that you could be standing right here in this same point that I am this evening. So when I have the opportunity comes to impact humanity, to serve, to lead, and uphold, what will each of you do? So, in the wise words of Eminem, one of the greatest rappers of all time, top 10, I would probably say. When you look at it, you have one shot, one opportunity. Would you seize it? Or would you capture it? Or would you let it just slip away? So be blessed. And hey, fight!